Hello, thank you for joining us. I am Catherine Martin, Chairman of Asia Week New York, and I'm excited to welcome you to the opening, if you will, to Asia Week 2021 and launch our spring online exhibition. On behalf of everyone involved with Asia Week New York, I want to extend our gratitude to the devoted group of galleries, auction houses, museums, curators, collectors, and scholars who have supported our efforts and kept us going over the past year. We are also pleased to continue to work with our presenting sponsor, Songsam Hotels, Resorts and Tours, an award-winning luxury boutique hotel group with 12 properties, 4 Linka resort hotels, and 8 lodges located in the Chinese provinces of Tibet and Yunnan. This is our 12th year celebrating Asian art here in New York, and over those years, we have evolved and grown into a vibrant international community of specialists working together throughout the year to develop programs relevant to our field. Over the past year, through our schedule of webinars, our partnerships with museums, and our newsletter, What's Happening in Asian Art, we've been fortunate to connect with more of you than ever before. To those of you who have recently found us, I welcome you to our International Asian Art family. Many of you in the audience have visited us here in New York during previous Asia Weeks. Perhaps this was even an annual pilgrimage for you to see old friends and to seek out new acquisitions. And while we enthusiastically welcome back anyone who can be here this year to visit the 13 dealers in our group that have gallery exhibitions open by appointment, for those of you who cannot, we are pleased to share with you our newly designed and greatly expanded online viewing room featuring works from 29 dealers and 6 auction houses. There are literally hundreds of objects featured with straightforward access just one click away directly to the gallery or auction house presenting the work. Today, we are fortunate to have 3 presenters to guide you through an overview of what we have to offer virtually and around the town. Our first presenter will be Mike Hearn, the Dillon Chairman of the Department of Asian Art at the Metropolitan Museum of Art here in New York. Mike will share his insights and take us on a journey through the centuries with a virtual gallery walk, commenting on some of the highlights from the exhibitions currently on view in the Met's extensive Asian art galleries, and also some teasers regarding what is on the horizon with upcoming installations. Following Mike, my colleague from the Asia Week Planning Committee, Olivia Hamilton, Department Head of Christie's Chinese Department in New York, will guide us through a presentation of highlights from our 29 participating Asian art galleries. And then Eric Zetterquist, another member of the Asia Week Planning Committee, will guide us through a presentation of the myriad of Asian works of art available at the 6 participating auction houses here in New York. And now I will hand this off to Mike Hearn, an individual I look up to both figuratively and literally. Mike?
Catherine, thank you for that nice introduction and greetings to everyone. It's really wonderful to share the podium with members of Asia Week New York to celebrate this year's virtual gathering. And for those of you who can visit us in New York, hope to see you in the flesh. On behalf of everyone who works in the field of Asian art here in New York City, may I say how much we've missed not seeing so many of our friends over these past few months. It's been an unprecedented period of closure for most of New York's cultural institutions, but we're open again. The Met reopened in August, and we've been hard at work continuing to make acquisitions and do installations. And what I'd like to do is just give you a brief guided tour this evening of some of the many things that you can see if you come by the Met in the next few months. Just a reminder, however, the Met has new hours. We are no longer open on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and we don't have evening hours. But Thursday through Monday, 10 to 5, we're here, and the galleries are not very crowded, so it's an ideal time to visit works of art, both new and old, that we have on view. Let me start by sharing my screen and getting there we go. So this is a medley of images that I would like to introduce to you in more detail right now. So let's get started with a visit to the galleries of Korean art. move my. There we go. Okay, so Eleanor Hearn, our curator for Korean art, has an installation right now that features this wonderful late 19th century image of Diamond Mountains by Sin Hak-kwan. That will be on view until April 4th, when we will be rotating our galleries. And in its place, Eleanor is going to have a group of works that feature avian imagery, starting with this wonderful 3rd century Three Kingdoms image of a bird, looks like a water bird to me. Then we'll leap to the late 19th century, where she will be juxtaposing a wonderful piece of folk art, this rooster and hen celebrating the rising sun and New Year, with a group of rank badges which have similar iconography of waves, rocks, magic fungus, and auspicious clouds. Also on view will be a spectacular folding screen of birds and flowers, a 10-panel screen that has beautiful, lush imagery, again, from the late 19th century. Turning to our galleries for ancient Chinese art, each year Jason Swin curates a Lunar New Year exhibition. And this year we've transformed the middle of the Ancient China Gallery into a special exhibition space that will feature the Year of the Ox. Long before the ox was known as a zodiac image, it was the preeminent sacrificial animal for ancestor worship. And we have a couple of very early examples, a classic Anyang jade, as well as a water buffalo. He's lost his horns, unfortunately, from regional culture in South China. By the Tang Dynasty, you get this extraordinary array of zodiac animals. They've been codified and often presented in anthropomorphic form. And as you can see from this detail of an excavated example, originally these all would have been brilliantly painted, placed in the tomb, probably as a symbol of cosmic order. But what is quite unusual is we have a rare gilt bronze example. It's 14 inches tall. That would not have been intended for burial, but must have graced an aristocratic altar. The custom of creating anthropomorphic depictions of zodiac animals, of course, continued right down to the Qing Dynasty, the Qianlong era. And this is a marvelous array of such animals, each one with its own attributes and pose. And just to confirm its date, the Palace Museum in Beijing has a similar set with its original wooden box. It's not on view here, but we thought it would be important to make that reference. Of course, under Qianlong, the Silk Road was reopened and Cotonese jade became accessible again, including large boulders, such as the one that was used to carve this 44-pound image of a water buffalo, along with smaller examples that were in various media, jade, cloisonné, and of course this Kangxi polychrome example in ceramic. Moving on to the Chinese painting galleries, Joe Scheier-Dolberg, in his first rotation of the Chinese painting and calligraphy up close exhibition, began in the 10th century with a close look at the riverbank. In the second rotation, which will be up through June 27, he begins in the 8th century with this marvelous set of album leaves of the Lingfei Jing. This is an album that was formerly in the collection of the Wang family, and this is a fitting moment to remember Wango Wang, who passed away this past December at the age of 102, after carefully husbanding his family's collection for so long. Joe is juxtaposing the actual works of art with photographic enlargement that enable you to see the extraordinary artistry of brushwork from this example. The character Shu is only the size of your fingernail, but you can see it's been done with extraordinary deftness. And you can also get a sense of the texture of the paper as the brush meets that textured surface. And of course, you can also follow the ligatures that connect one brush stroke to another in these photographic enlargements. In the year maybe 1025, Summer Mountains, one of our best known early Chinese landscape paintings, ends with an image of a man walking across a bridge with a carry pole. That's something that we always talk about as returning the viewer into the landscape itself. But what about that little building next door? It turns out that that is a small shrine, and you see two figures have put down their carry poles and are making obeisances to the deity within. I had never seen this before, but thanks to Joe's photo enlargements, this little detail just came to life for me. Just a generation later, we have a portrait of Bishu Chang at the age of 93 from around the year 1056, one of the Suiyang Wulao. And another kind of portraiture from around 1100 is Emperor Huizong's depiction of finches and bamboo with his artful use of a drop of lacquer in the eye of the bird to further animate his realism. Yet another kind of portraiture is on view for the first time in our galleries. This is a work of art that is a promised gift from Jerry Yang and Akiko Yamazaki. Came as part of the 150th anniversary celebration of the Met. And it's a wonderful depiction of on gilded gold flake paper of a scene of a residence in the midst of a bamboo grove. In fact, the title of the painting is Zhuchuan, or Bamboo River. And that turns out to be the sobriquet of the man who commissioned the painting. So this is a biehao tu. This is a representation of the man, metaphorically speaking, by painting his nom de plume. And as you look carefully at the wonderful details, you might say, could this be Shenzhou or perhaps Tang Yin? It's neither. It's Wang Zhao. Wang Zhao was a Zhou school painter who lived exactly at the same time, around 1500. But here he is working in a literati mode. It's a terribly important and rare example of how Zhou school painters could also work in the literati convention if they needed to. Upstairs in the third floor, Pangliang Lu has assembled a wonderful group of about 120 works of art to celebrate the gifts and bequests of Florence and Herbert Irving. It's called Masters and Masterpieces, in which he really takes apart how court sponsorship versus private sponsorship changes the way in which artists respond to their patrons. One of my favorite cases in the exhibition in this first room is this group of 5 platters that range from the end of the Song Dynasty until the early years of the Ming. And they all are about what's called a 2-bird motif. But over time, we are able to trace how the carving style evolved over that 150-year period, with becoming more overlapping and detailed and 3-dimensional. This is a Yongle period piece. Of course, the quintessential and ultimate carving of lacquer took place again under the Qianlong Emperor, and this is an image of a sutra box. On the right is one from the Palace Museum that shows how it would have held a Taoist sutra originally. And of course, the imagery is of the Taoist pantheon. Peng Liang has researched this and found records from 1744 in which the emperor was personally involved in dictating the content and disposition of the decoration on this box. So the wonderful affirmation of its imperial pedigree. The second room takes nature as a source of inspiration, and we get a range of images that include this marvelous 14th century black lacquer tray with mother of pearl, and a Zhang Daqian from 1963, both from the Irving collection. Trompe l'oeil was another area in which Qianlong reveled in being able to take expensive material and make it look very commonplace. Here's a wonderful piece of ivory made to look like a piece of bamboo. In the third room, it's all about the return to antiquity and researching the past. And there, Peng Liang has juxtaposed a Liangzhu, a Neolithic jade zong with the Southern Song porcelain and metal evocations. He's also assembled a whole group of Chur dragons, including this marvelous early 15th century ivory. When we turn to the Japanese galleries, John Carpenter and his colleagues have just installed a new exhibition called Japan, A History of Style. That will have 4 different rotations, and it highlights acquisitions of the last 10 years. Of course, one of the most important of which was the group of some 300 works of art from Mary Griggs Burke, including this marvelous pair of 10th century Shinto deities that opens the exhibition. Aaron Rio, our associate curator in this area, is a specialist in Buddhist and Zen art, and he's assembled a marvelous group of different works that clearly relate to one another, including this 1383 woodblock print and a late 14th century painting, both of which share similar iconography, right down to Xuanzang bearing a pack full of sutras on his back. In the next room is an opportunity to celebrate cursive calligraphy from the 14th century. The piece on the right is an early work, it's a work by Muso Soseki that comes to us from Mary and Chini Coles. And juxtaposed with it is a work by his disciple, Zekai Chushin, which was a gift of Sylvan Barnett and Bill Berto. So how extraordinary to have two wonderful examples of cursive calligraphy by master and disciple. The next room features a pair of screens, one will be up in each rotation, of tethered hawks. This is a quintessential emblem of the martial spirit of the samurai. And we juxtapose that set of paintings with a samurai who looks to me quite elegant. He would not only appreciate the hawks, but also the poems, the Chinese poems inscribed above them by one of the leading Zen monks of the time. Another recent acquisition is a pair of screens of Chinese sages from the Kano school. This has been surrounded by a group of works of Kano school artists, including some that came in as early as 1918 into the collection. But this masterpiece really showcases how the Kano school was inspired by both courtly and Zen Buddhist iconography from China. This one obviously influenced by Liang Kai. Juxtaposed with this group of Kano school works is another cluster featuring Rinpa works, and another new acquisition, this marvelous Sakai Hoitsu painting of cherries and maple leaves. Monica Binchik, our Diane and Arthur Abbey curator for Japanese decorative arts, takes over at this point and helps us with the different types of tea ceremony wares. She's featuring, in one case, a Chinese-style woven basket from about 1910 that is in the Chinese style, and putting next to it a wonderful painting by Chikuto of a Chinese gathering in a garden. Opposite to that is a quintessential Japanese tea ceremony space where she's put a wonderful Sesson Yu by calligraphy from Barnett and Berto in the Tokonoma, juxtaposed it with an early 17th century bamboo flower holder from the Abbeys. And next to that, you see Mary Burke's favorite black seto-ware tea bowl. Next to what? A couple of contemporary works, a mizusashi and kettle made in the last 10 years. She continues this theme of modern metalwork with a group of such images. These have all come to us with the help of Hayashi Kaoru, the Japanese businessman who wanted to make sure that Western museums could represent Japanese art at its finest from the contemporary world. So we have these examples, this one of actually woven and plated strips of metal. It looks just like bamboo, except it's in silver and lead. And finally, this marvelous piece that looks like it's carved out of wood grain, but again, different kinds of metal alloys. John Carpenter takes over in the next room, and John has been systematically building up our collection of Nihonga. This piece was one that Mary Wallach and he found and fell in love with from 1925. And for me, it has a kind of Art Deco-like quality, and he juxtaposes it with this amazing work by Chikudo of Tiger and Tigress. And you can see how, in contrast with Art Deco mode, Chikudo was clearly influenced by this notion of studying from nature. He probably went to the local zoo to paint these tigers. John is also the curator who installed a splendid installation called Actors and Courtesans in Ukiyo-e, Japanese prints from the Lee E. Dirks collection. Mr. Dirks has assembled a marvelous group of early works that start off this installation. This is a Moronobu that was hand painted. It's one of 9 such works, all dated to the early period of ukiyo-e printmaking around 1680, all of which are hand colored, and all of which are unique prints. You will not see these in any other collection in the world. The opportunity to see 9 of them together is simply amazing. And happily, Lee Dirks has promised most of them to the Met. So please have a look at that. But then in the main part of the print room, we also have classic examples of works by Hokusai Utamaro. Hokusai's Spying Through a Telescope is from a series called 7 Fashionable Bad Habits. She's obviously a voyeur. And we're voyeurs as we look behind this screen as a tea waitress is looking at her makeup in a mirror. So wonderful allusions to optical devices and how that enhances the art of looking. The show ends with Kunisada's amusing image of actually how prints were made. but he's replaced all the printmakers with beautiful women. And the last image in the installation is about kabuki actors, all presented as tortoises and turtles. In case you don't recognize their faces, their clan signs or mon are all artfully woven into the carapaces of the beasts. We switch over now to the Indian and Himalayan galleries. Kurt Barron will be rotating our current installation, which is on later Indian paintings, for an exhibition focused on bodhisattvas of compassion, wisdom, and power. So here's a mandala that features Manjushri, the bodhisattva of transcendent wisdom. Kurt has also pulled in a Dali Guo, 11th and 12th century sculpture of the multi-armed Avalokiteshvara, and the 7th century alone of a wonderful Vajrapani. He will also rotate some of the pieces in the collection to feature, among other things, this 11th century set of book covers that also features the 3 principal bodhisattvas that are the focus of the exhibition. This a recent gift from Jeffrey Kosak. Don Guy has also been very busy. He will deliver this year's annual South and Southeast Asian lecture tomorrow at 4:30. He'll focus on a newly discovered 18th century ivory plaque that you see here. If you're interested, please look for the Zoom link. It's on the Met's website. Enter lecture Sri Lanka ivory, and you'll find it. John has also reinstalled the Himalayan permanent collection with some new promised gifts. This one from Richard Chilton, a 12th century Hevajra. We have a group of works that are also on view for the first time. Sunten Gampo's portrait of himself as an Avalokiteshvara with his footprints, and the 17th century Krishna subduing the serpent Kaliya are both gifts from the Zimmerman family, and the Bon Tanka from the 15th century is a gift from Carlton Rochelle. In our Gandharan galleries, doesn't change very often, but it's changing in a big way now. We've recently installed this imposing image of the Buddha and Bodhisattvas. Some of you may recognize it. It was on auction last summer. It's dated to the year 5, so we think a 3rd century, early representation of the Buddha flanked by Bodhisattvas. It's a terribly important datable work, and it's here on loan from a private collector. Another important loan that's going to join our Pallava Garuda and Vishnu is this lion pillar base that is on loan from Dr. Louis Herlands. And John has just recently acquired, with the help of Dr. David Naylan, this marvelous Pala Sena 12th century Durga. And finally, a gift from Jim Brees of a 16th century blue and white ceramic from Vietnam, so as not to leave out our South and Southeast Asian collection. But I think surely the most valuable collection that I can feature this evening is the group of energetic curators that have made all of this possible. It's really their scholarship and creativity that has brought all of these pieces together. So I hope you'll have a chance to visit the Met soon to see what they've accomplished. It's now my pleasure to turn the podium over to Olivia Hamilton, who will guide you through the highlights of the offerings available to participating Asia Week galleries. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike, for that fascinating glimpse into everything that's going on at the Met. And I am sure we are all already planning our next visit to see these treasures in person. And here at Asia Week New York, we have our own exciting lineup of galleries to visit by appointment or online. And starting with the art from the India, Himalayas, and Southeast Asia, in their exhibition Adorned Words, Art of Islamic Illumination, Art Passages shows a selection of illuminated Islamic manuscripts, among them this bifolium, which is a double page from the Farangi Jahangiri, produced in Mughal India in the Jahangir period, in ink, gold, and opaque watercolor on paper. One of the Indian, Persian, and Himalayan works presented in Prahlad Buba's exhibition, The Abundance of Nature, is shown here. It is an illustration from the Shahnameh, entitled Rostam Kills the White Demon, and it was made in Shiraz in Iran in about 1570, and it is executed in opaque watercolor and gold on paper. At Oliver Forge and Brendan Lynch, we see here a manuscript titled Rustam before Kaikavos, having knocked down Tus. It is one of approximately 24 known folios from an apparently unique manuscript from Bijapur in India made in about 1610, which depicts traditional Shahnameh themes, but in a distinctively Bijapur style. So it's using ink, opaque watercolor, and gold on gold sprinkled paper. And the verso has 4 columns of nastaliq divided by gold rules. One of the highlights at Francesca Gallery is this rare gilt copper and blue Champlevé enamel pandan from the Aurangabad area of the Deccan, possibly Baranpur in the late 17th century. This rare and exquisite container, which was intended for the storage of betel nut, belongs to a group of only 4 gilt copper enameled pandans to survive from this period. In their exhibition, Incarnations of Devotion, Kapoor Galleries features a wide array of Indian and Himalayan works from painting to sculpture, and among them, this graceful Chola period bronze figure of Uma or Parvati from Tamil Nadu in South India, which was acquired in India back in the 1950s. Thomas Murray presents a cross-section of Asian art traditions, among them this noir mask of a wise leader. These masks, used in dramas featuring heroic battles between the forces of good and evil, are part of a shamanic or animistic tradition dating back thousands of years and preserved in remote mountains by the tribal minorities of southwest China. A gold pectoral, known as a maranga, is one of the more unusual Asian jewels on offer at Susan Ollermann's. Made in Sumba in Indonesia in the 19th century, it is formed from a rod of gold hammered out into 2 triangular flanges. Such an extraordinary piece would have been part of a nobleman's treasury and exposed to daylight only for ritual purposes and under the guidance of a priest. At Runjit Singh, an 18th century Mewa shield or Surya shield, which was purchased in India in 1964 and is purportedly from the collection of the Maharana of Udaipur, is part of their fascinating selection of arms and armor from India, the Himalayas, China, and the Islamic world. And finally, for Indian art, we move to the contemporary sphere, where Akka Praka is featuring Unfoldings, the route map of experience by Jayashri Chakravarti. This is an immersive painted installation made of textile, Nepali paper, tissue, brown paper, pigment, acrylic paint, glue, and also tea and coffee stains. It's currently installed at the Kiran Nada Museum of Art in New Delhi. Moving on to the art of China, the Spring 2021 exhibition of Chinese porcelains and works of art at Ralph M. Chait Galleries shows a wonderful variety of forms. A Kangxi period Fami-Vert porcelain phoenix tail vase stands out because of its sheer quality and its dramatic scenes on both the neck and the body. It is one of several pieces that were handled by the Chait family many years ago and is now back at their renowned gallery. The highlight of the exhibition at Nicholas Grindley is a late Ming to early Qing dynasty, 17th century Huanghuali painting table. Not only does it have a remarkably light and elegant design, but this table also boasts excellent provenance, as it once belonged to Robert and Adriana Munichin of New York, and it was part of the Ian and Susan Wilson collection in San Francisco, and it was on loan to the Museum for Ostasiatische Kunst in Cologne from 2003 to 2018. The Beijing-based gallery Ink Studio is showing works by 7 of the 15 contemporary literati ink art painters that they represent. Particularly engrossing is Cloudy Sky Without Rain by Peng Kanglong, which is a rare work by a literati recluse artist who more typically paints in the traditional landscape and flower genre. These 4 bronze long-horned bulls and a horse from the Dian Kingdom, which flourished during the Western Han period, feature in earthly agendas at Kaikado. Oxen figure prominently in the bronze craft of the Dian culture, and presently, of course, they also serve as very appropriate symbols for the current lunar year. And finally, for Chinese art, this extraordinary treasure box at Zetterquist Galleries is an 18th century Huanghuali box designed to store scholars' objects. It embodies so much of the Chinese scholar's enjoyment of history and materials, with each tray and drawer custom fitted to hold a total of 13 objects, made from ancient gilt and silvered bronze, stone and porcelain, which date from the Shang dynasty through to the Ming. The exhibition at the Art of Japan features new acquisitions for spring, including ukiyo-e and shinhanga. Ocho Namizu from the series 20 Views of Tokyo is a color woodblock print by Kawasa Hasui, a noted shinhanga artist, and is considered one of his finest snow scenes. Chambers Fine Art presents a group of works by Egami Etsu, who is currently in New York on an artist residency program sponsored by the Japanese Ministry of Cultural Affairs. The works on show are collectively entitled Facebook, and in this group, the artist chooses to focus on the human face, a theme that is of universal significance. In the show at Daiichi Arts, called Passages Through Time, we can see a full view of the timeline of avant-garde ceramics from Japan, starting with the post-war period, up through the works of contemporary masters. This pale blue vase by Hayashi Shotaro, from about the year 2000, demonstrates his expertise in creating expressive masterpieces using a Shino glaze. And this piece has been designated an important intangible cultural property of Gifu Prefecture in Japan. Eggenolf Gallery, Japanese Prints, focuses on prints and paintings by Chiura Obata. Obata was an influential American artist, born and educated in Japan, who taught at Berkeley from 1932 to 1954, a period broken only by his unjust internment during World War II. In 1930, Obata and the Japanese publisher Takamezawa published World Landscape Series, America. Here you see Evening Glow at Mono Lake from Mono Hills, a color woodblock print from the series. Tokyo-based Hara Shobo shows a wide-ranging selection of Japanese prints, which is their specialty. This print, called View of Pleasure Boats at Ryogoku, the eastern capital, is a triptych by Utagawa Hiroshiga. It is a well-known print of a traditional scene of boats on the Sumida River, with people gathering to celebrate the beginning of summer and to view fireworks from the Ryogoku Bridge. The works in the exhibition Utagawa Kunisada, His World Revisited, at Sebastian Izzard, cover most aspects of the 19th century ukiyo-e master's long career. Here, you can see the amorous Murasaki finds pleasure in 50 or more chapters, which is a 3-volume set of color woodblock printed books, embellished with metallic highlights in silver and bronze. At Joan B. Mervis, Tradition Redefined, Razanjan and His Rivals, is the first significant exhibition of Kataji Razanjan in New York in nearly 50 years. Long hailed as one of the greatest ceramicists of the 20th century, his oeuvre is placed in dialogue with that of several of his renowned contemporaries. This exceptional Nezumi, or mouse gray, Shino-glazed stoneware tea bowl has straight sides and a slightly flaring mouth, and is decorated with lattice patterning. Onishi Gallery presents the eternal beauty of metal, featuring vessels made from gold, silver, platinum, copper, lead, and unique Japanese alloys, all worked in traditional techniques. This eye-catching silver vase, entitled Ariso, or Rough Shore, from 2020, is made from hammered silver, decorated with textile imprint, inlaid in lead and gold. The artist is Osumi Yukie, Japan's first female living national treasure in metal art. Scholten Japanese Arts exhibition On the Vanguard, Meiji period woodblock prints, focuses on a dynamic period of the late 19th and early 20th century, as Japan transformed from a feudal society based on samurai culture into a modern nation. This painting, Fujiwara Yasumasa Plays the Flute by Moonlight, by Tsukioka Yoshitoshi, is generally considered his greatest masterpiece. At Thai Modern, 10,000 Flowers pairs Japanese bamboo art with flowers in a nod to their long-standing relationship. The importance of functionality and the relevance of ikebana is a matter of active debate, and each artist has a different stance. Fallen Pine Needle Basket by Mondo Nuichi from 2011 is made from bamboo and rattan and is a tribute to his and his father's artistic roots and the passing down of knowledge through generations. Thompson Gallery is showing a group of lacquer works by the contemporary artist Yoshio Okada, centered on the themes of celestial phenomena and jellyfish. For a floating box with sprinkled design of jellyfish, Okada creates a sense of depth by using the maquille decoration in 2 stages. The darker jellyfish are applied first with gold powders and then covered with a layer of reddish-brown lacquer, followed by the lighter colored jellyfish. The selection of works of art presented by Kyoto-based gallery, Hiroshi Yanagi Oriental Art, spreads across the entire scope of Japanese art. One of the highlights is an 18th century Edo period hanging scroll in ink on paper, entitled Landscape in Snow, by the renowned Kyoto artist Soga Shohaku. This painting was itself inspired by the style of his contemporary, Maeyama Okyo. Kokon Biannual Spring 2021 at Koichi Yanagi Oriental Fine Arts focused on the varied uses of a single medium, that of monochrome ink. The most striking work among them is Birds and Flowers of the Four Seasons, a pair of Muromachi period 16th century 6-panel screens in ink on paper. And Miyako Yoshinaga presents Manika Nagare's recent abstract color paintings. Born in 1975, this Tokyo-based artist applies multiple layers of simple colors, conveying shifting expressions which reflect differences in light and perspective, and explore the notion of the border between this life and the afterlife. In Through a Faraway Eye, shown here, the waterside motif alludes to the border that separates life and death.
And lastly, but certainly not least, at HK Art and Antiques, we can see a Korean inkstone case, or yongsan, from the Joseon dynasty of the late 19th century. This beautiful object uses the grain of the persimmon wood as its decoration, and it would have furnished a scholar's study. And now I will pass you over to Eric Zetterquist.
Hello, I'm Eric Zetterquist, and I'm delighted to be presenting highlights of the nearly 2,700 Asian art objects being auctioned in New York next week. But first, I'd like to personally thank Olivia and Rochelle for such grace under fire during our presentation, and I'm so glad that you all have stayed for the rest. Bonhams has 3 main auctions and 1 online sale. Previews are by appointment only, and the auctions will be behind closed doors where an auctioneer will present on the rostrum and bids will be accepted in the following formats: online, on the phone, or by leaving an absentee bid. Among the private collections presented in the Chinese Works of Art and Paintings auction at Bonhams, which starts on Monday, March 15th at 10 a.m. Among the private collections included in the sale are a group of Ming and Qing lacquerwares from the collection of Robert W. Moore, a select group of archaic jade animal carvings from the estate of Robert Youngman, and a group of paintings, including one by modern master Qi Baishi of mice and candlesticks. The main highlight is from a group of select sculptures from the estate of Marilyn B. Alstorff, featuring a rare black stone cross-legged figure of Maitreya, dating back to the Northern Wei dynasty Longmen Caves, 5th, 6th century AD, acquired from C.T. Liu, Frank Caro, in September 1953. It is estimated at $70,000 to $100,000. The Indian and Himalayan and Southeast Asian art sale at Bonhams goes up on Tuesday, March 16th at 6 p.m. Leading this sale week is a museum quality brass figure of the Vajravarahi from northeastern India, dating from the Pala period, circa 11th century, possibly one of the earliest known bronze sculptures of the Vajravarahi in existence. This figure from the eminent Ningje Lam collection has been on loan to the Rubin Museum over the past 15 years and has never since been published. It is estimated $400,000 to $600,000. Fine Japanese and Korean art goes up on Wednesday, March 17th at 10 a.m. The most important of the over 180 lots of Japanese and Korean works of art is a 10th to 12th century lacquered wood sculpture of the Amida Nyorai, created during the Heian period, the golden age of Buddhist sculpture in Japan. It is estimated at $100,000 to $150,000. The Korean section features an outstanding selection of ceramics from a private Japanese collection formed in the early 20th century, including an intricately carved Joseon Dynasty white porcelain brush holder, carved with symbols of longevity: deer, cranes, bamboo, and pine. It is estimated at $40,000 to $50,000. Arts of India and the Himalayas online will run at Bonhams from March 12th through 19th. And they will also have a virtual walkthrough of their auctions. Christie's presents Asian Art Week from March 4th through 19th, a series of 7 auctions with over 750 objects from 5,000 years of art spanning all epochs and categories of Asian art, from Chinese archaic bronzes through Japanese and Korean art to modern and contemporary Indian painting. All works will be presented in an exhibition by appointment from March 12th through 18th at Christie's in New York. Japanese and Korean art at Christie's goes up on March 16th at 10 a.m. An important and highly exhibited hanging scroll in ink and color on paper by Katsushika Hokusai, titled Mitate Asazuma Bune, the parody of the boat Asazuma, from the collection of the Japanese Ukiyo-e Museum, is of particular note. It is estimated at $400,000 to $500,000. South Asian modern and contemporary art, including works by Benode Bahari Mukherjee from the Mrinalini Mukherjee Foundation, will be auctioned on Wednesday, March 17th at 11 a.m. A significant painting in oil on canvas from a private collection in India and by the pioneer of Indian modernism, Tyab Mehta, titled Confidant, painted in 1962 and extensively exhibited and published, will be of great interest. It is estimated at $600,000 to $800,000. Indian, Himalayan, and Southeast Asian works of art go up on Wednesday, March 17th at 8:30 a.m. A magnificent and monumental gray schist figure of the Buddha Shakyamuni, leading a group of masterpieces of Gandharan sculpture from a Japanese private collection, exhibited and published in Japan, is the week's top lot in this field. It is estimated at $1.5 to $2.5 million. Shang, early ritual bronzes from the Daniel Shapiro collection, will be auctioned on Thursday, March 18th from 8:30 a.m. The Luboshez gong, a magnificent and highly important bronze ritual wine vessel, is one of the most well-known archaic bronze vessels. Dating to the 13th to 12th century BC, the vessel combines a pouncing tiger with a standing owl to form a powerful, fantastic creature. It was in a celebrated collection of Captain S.N. Ferris Luboshez, acquired in China prior to 1949 and sold at Sotheby's in 1982, and later acquired by Daniel Shapiro from J.J. Lally and Company. It is also the most highly valued piece to be offered this week and is estimated at $4 to $6 million. Important Chinese art from the Zhengkak collection, Thursday, March 18th, goes up at 9 a.m. Among the group of rare jades from the storied Zhengkak collection to be offered here, one of the most unusual is this white and yellow rare jade miniature figure of a standing Bactrian camel dated to the Tang through Yuan dynasty. It was acquired from Tongying in 1946 by Stephen Zhengkak III and is estimated at $300,000 to $500,000. Important Chinese ceramics and works of art is Thursday, March 18th at 1 p.m. and also Friday, March 19th at 8:30 a.m. The top lot in this sale is a rare 17th century Huanghuali hexagonal incense stand from the Yunwai Lu collection, which appears to be the only published hexagonal example in Huanghua. It has passed through the hands of Eskenazi Limited and Nicholas Grindley. It is estimated at $800,000 to $1.2 million. South Asian modern and contemporary art online is an online sale that runs from March 4th through the 18th. This sale complements the March 17th sale of works in this category. Together, these two sales celebrate a wide variety of artistic practices from South Asian subcontinent and its diaspora across the 20th and 21st centuries. Celebration 1, Oil on Canvas by Paresh Maiti, painted in 2005, is one of the contemporary works in the sale. It is estimated $20,000 to $30,000. At the Auction House of Doyle, there's an Asian Works of Art sale Monday, March 15th, that starts at 10 a.m. The Doyle sale offers a wide variety of Asian art from China, Japan, Southeast Asia, from ancient to modern. The majority are Chinese ceramics, jades, and works of art. One of the most worthy of attention is a fine Chinese Famille Rose enameled porcelain lantern vase with a Qianlong seal mark in underglazed blue and of the period. It is estimated at $20,000 to $30,000. Heritage auctions, also in New York, will have a fine and decorative Asian art sale Tuesday, March 16th, commencing at 10 a.m. The sale is comprised of a wide variety of Asian art, including Chinese ceramics, paintings, furniture, and works of art, Japanese cloisonné enamel vases, and some examples of Indian art. Chinese art forms the core of the sale with paintings, particularly a group of works by the famed modern artist Qi Baishi, taking the spotlight. His painting in ink on paper of chicks displays his masterful depiction of this subject matter and is estimated at $40,000 to $60,000. iGavel has an Asian, ancient, and ethnographic works of art sale starting Tuesday, April 6th through Tuesday, April 27th. The sale will feature an array of works in lacquer, ceramic, metal, and other materials with items from all the major Asian cultures and regions. Although the online sale will not be held until April, several pieces illustrated in the virtual exhibition are on view by appointment at the New York Gallery from March 11th through 20th. Among those is an outstanding pair of Chinese cloisonné ewers with Qianlong mark and of the period. They're estimated at $30,000 to $50,000. Sotheby's upcoming Asia Week sales in New York present a diverse range of Asian art spanning 4,000 years of history in 4 sales, taking place from March 12th through 24th. All works on offer are open for viewing by appointment in Sotheby's New York galleries beginning March 11th. Modern and contemporary South Asian art goes up on Tuesday, March 16th at 10 a.m. The sale includes exceptional works from numerous significant private collections, and many have not been seen in public for years. Acquired directly from the artist in Bombay in 1960s, Vasudeo S. Gaitonde's incandescent red canvas, untitled 1962, will appear at auction for the first time this March, after remaining in the collection of renowned American physicist Robert Marshak and his wife Ruth for nearly 60 years. It is estimated at $800,000 to $1.2 million. Imperial cloisonné and jade, Chinese art from the Brooklyn Museum, opens Wednesday, March 17th at 9 a.m. The star of a selection of Imperial Ming and Qing jades and cloisonné enamels being sold by the Brooklyn Museum to support museum collections is a magnificent Qing Dynasty Qianlong period exceptional white and russet jade brush pot from the collection of Colonel Robert B. Woodward. Woodward, a lifelong Brooklyn resident, gifted his collection to the museum in 1914. This lot is estimated between $1 million and $1.5 million. Important Chinese art goes up on Wednesday, March 17th at 10 a.m. The highlight of the ceramics in this sale is not only exceptionally rare, but also quite a discovery. The consignor found this 15th century Chinese Yongle blue and white floral bowl at a yard sale near New Haven, Connecticut last year and bought it for $35. It turned out, once it was brought to Sotheby's for identification, that only 6 companion bowls are known to exist, with most in renowned museum collections. This lot is estimated at $300,000 to $500,000. The 100 Antiques and Fine Decorative Asian Art Sale is online and runs from March 12th through 24th. The sale comprises over 190 Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Indian, and Himalayan works of art and paintings, and features Ming and Qing Dynasty porcelains, classical furniture, jade, and scholars' objects. The selection exemplifies the range of artistic expression, materials, and techniques from Asia's diverse cultures. A large Qing Dynasty blue and white Jiangqiuping is likely to attract a lot of attention. It is estimated at $10,000 to $15,000. Now I would like to toss the baton back to Catherine Martin. And thank you all again for your patience tonight.
Thank you, Eric, for guiding us through the buzzworthy top lots from the auctions, and to cool under pressure, Olivia, for presenting highlights from the galleries. We're very grateful that Mike Hearn could be with us today for his virtual gallery walk of the Asian art on view at the Magnificent Met. I hope you enjoyed our relay race through Asia Week 2021 and for sticking with us during our pause in the broadcast. As much as we just shared with you, please bear in mind this is just a brief overview. There is so much more to see in our online viewing room, which is now live with nearly 400 works of art and beyond, virtually and physically at the galleries and auction houses. By our count, there are over 3,000 works of art on offer in association with Asia Week 2021. Visit our website to access the viewing room, where you can easily contact any of the dealers or auction houses directly if you have questions about the works on offer, and you can also click through to their websites to learn more about their gallery or how to bid in an auction. And if you haven't already, please do register for our newsletter for updates on our next presentation and tidbits on what's happening in Asian art. And most importantly, thank you to our audience for joining us, for sticking with us, and for your support of the Asian art community. On behalf of all of us at Team Asia Week, we hope to see you really soon. Thank you.